Hello to our friends at First Baptist, and greetings from the edge of Mott Lake in the Flint, Michigan area. We are the MacPhail Fausey family. We are your missionaries to the country of Cameroon and West Africa. We had so looked forward to being with you, but unfortunately this COVID season has disrupted the plans of many.
We've created a video presentation that's an overview of our first term of service on the field. It's about 15 minutes long, and we really hope that you enjoy it.
If the Lord permits, we will come and visit you before we return to Cameroon. But if not, we would ask that you keep us in your prayers, keep our work in your prayers, as you will be in our prayers as well too. And we want to thank you. We want to thank you so much for your friendship, for your fellowship, for your prayers, and for your support over the years. It has meant so much to us. We love you, and God bless. Hello friends, we are the MacPhail Fausey family. We are your missionaries to Cameroon. We're so sorry that we can't be with you during these times right now, but we wanted to bring you an update about our ministry, our work in Cameroon during our first term of service while we were there. I am Brian. You see pictured my wife Heather and our beautiful daughter Phoebe. But let's start by talking a little bit about the country of Cameroon and where it's located. Cameroon is a country on the west coast of Africa. It's tucked in what they call the armpit of Africa. And it's a country of about 24 million people. It's about the size of California, and California also has about 24 million people, so the country is about the same population density overall. There are 250 different ethnic groups. We can think of those as different African tribes. There's 270 different spoken languages, although French is spoken by about 80% of the population and English by about 20%. There's also a multitude of religions within the country. Each African tribe really has its own religion from days gone by. And those religions still have a lot of power, still have a lot of influence in people's lives. Our primary work is church planting in the capital city of Yongdae, a city of about 3.5 million people. And Yongdae is a very modern city. In fact, if you were to come with me to downtown Yongdae, you would see paved streets, you would see large buildings, you would see shopping centers where you can buy what you need for life, food, groceries, electronics, etc. But you know, it doesn't take very much getting away from that city center to see Africa as you might expect it, with dirt roads, with homes of questionable construction, with people that are getting water from wells or cooking over open fires. And so while Cameroon is a very modern culture, the traditional beliefs, traditional ways still hold sway. We like to say that our friends in Cameroon are trapped. They're trapped between two worlds. This world of this modern Western culture coming in and the old ways that still have a great influence. We are bringing in Christianity, but the traditional religions still have a lot of sway and a lot of power and influence in people's lives. And Cameroon is much different culturally than here in the United States. It's very relational culture. It's a very community-based culture. Here in the United States, we're very much focused on the individual. We are important, our time, our desires, our wishes. And so we watch the clock as we work to get these things fulfilled. In Cameroon, the individual is not important, the community is. And the relationships are much more important than time. So at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when I get a knock on the door, if I know that person, if I have a relationship with that person, I'm going to have to spend some time with them. And that could be 30 minutes, or that could be 3 hours of my time. And so it's very hard to plan the schedule when there's a constant stream of people coming and we're building these relations. What may take me a week to accomplish here in the United States may take me a month, or sometimes even a year to get accomplished in Cameroon. Life also becomes unplannable because of electricity. While we do have electricity in the capital city there, it's unreliable. It usually goes out every day for a short period of time, and the voltage, which is supposed to be 220 volts, is sometimes 250, sometimes it's 180. And so we have to plan for that and protect our equipment. Water as well. We do have a city water system, but the water is undrinkable. We have to filter it to be able to drink, to be able to cook with, and it carries a lot of diseases that we need to be careful of. As well, the water will often go out. Once or twice a month, we'll lose water for at least a full day. Sometimes it's been up to 4 days. And so we have to live there by what we call the missionary motto, Semper Gumby, always flexible. But some of the most frustrating and difficult things about our life in Cameroon are just the corruption and the injustice that's faced there. Cameroon is probably the 17th most corrupt country in the world, and corruption reigns from on high all the way down. And unfortunately, the people that suffer the most are those that we deal with, the poor and the impoverished. And it hurts. In fact, it makes us angry to see that level of corruption. Our primary mission in Cameroon is the planting of churches that are healthy, that are sustainable, and that are reproductive. And what I mean by healthy is churches where people are growing in their faith, actively pursuing their relationship with Christ, and trying and striving to be in obedience to His Word. By sustainable, I mean churches that don't depend on the West, that don't depend on Western resources or on missionaries, that they're able to sustain in the long term within the means available to them in Cameroon. And by reproductive, I mean churches that are able to reproduce themselves. In fact, we believe that churches need to be planting churches, but they also need to be able to do this in a sustainable format. That is to say, they need to be able to reproduce churches within the means that they have available and not dependent on Western culture and Western resources. And so as we headed out to the field in August of 2015, we headed off to France to learn the French language. And we spent a year in Bordeaux, France, studying at the University of Bordeaux, Montaigne, and had a wonderful time there learning the language. In fact, there was a BMM missionary family there planting a church, Bob and Bonnie Bixby, who welcomed us into the country, helped us with our language, and got us active in the local church there. So we were able to serve while we were learning the culture and the language of France. But then in July of 2016, we made the move down to Cameroon. And we entered Cameroon with a strategy, a very specific strategy of intentional adaptation and relational evangelism. That is to say, to live among those we serve, to learn the culture of the people, to learn how they think, and to learn how they learn there. In fact, there is a large missionary community in Yongdae, Cameroon, but we purposely kept that community at arm's length. And the reason we did that is because we know that missionary communities have a gravity of their own. They can pull you in, and soon you find yourself just consumed with living in that culture. Going out to do a little ministry here, a little ministry there. But you're not really focused on the people that you came to serve. And so we kept that missionary community at arm's length. Our African friends became our first point of contact, our first point of help with things that we needed to get done. And that helped us to learn the culture. That helped us to learn how they think, so that when we say something, they can process it in a way they understand. It helped us to learn how they learn, so that we could teach them in a way that would be acceptable to them. And how did our strategy work? Well, we became accepted. We became welcomed. We became trusted within the culture. In fact, after our first year there, after a very difficult night of ministry, spending all night at the hospital, I got an afternoon call the next day, a few minutes after I got home, from a pastor friend whose mother had died. They had no way of transporting her body from the hospital to the morgue and asked me if I would help out. I decided that I'd be happy to do that. I went out, we moved his mother's body from the hospital to the morgue. And I gave two ladies from our church that day a ride home. And one of them said to me, "Pastor, you become one of us, because I know many missionaries that wouldn't have done this." And that's when we knew that our strategy was working. I'd also like to introduce you to Miss Comfort. Comfort was one of my neighbors there in the community. We started up discussions. I involved her in our small group, invited her to church, shared the gospel with her many times. Initially, she rejected the gospel. But it wasn't too long after that she came to faith in Christ and was baptized. Another family, the Kaji family here, now appearing on your screen. The Kajis, their youngest son, was a little bit of a troublemaker in the community. We got to know him, started a home Bible study with him. I had him washing my car after we do the Bible study to earn a little bit of money. Through that, we met the rest of the Kaji family. And the picture you're seeing here is the day of their baptism as they came to faith in Jesus Christ. But it doesn't end just with evangelism. We also invested heavily in discipleship, in investing our lives with others, both in individual and in group discipleship. The primary church that we work with right now in Cameroon is a larger church. And we got involved in helping to establish and provide the teaching material for small home groups. We worked through a Fundamentals of Discipleship, the Fundamentals of the Christian Life series that we had brought from the United States, contextualized into the Cameroon environment, and then taught in French. We ran through the Truth Project, a large program by Focus on the Family. Wonderful program. But this was also part of our learning experience in the country because it was a video series, very in-depth, very good. But we learned that the Cameroonians don't learn by video. So what did we do? In my next series, I developed what I call God's Big Plan, working as a survey through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, through creation, through fall, from redemption, leading to consummation. And the method I used to teach? The blackboard, the way our Cameroonian friends learned there. We brought out a big blackboard in our home, we wrote down the lessons, and you know what? They got it. It clicked. And that was the point at which we saw that our Cameroonian friends were starting to march and to walk according to God's Word. And that brought us such great joy and such great excitement as we went forward. And our home there has also become a revolving gate, if you will. Our home is our ministry center, and we welcome people in on a regular basis. I mentioned a few minutes ago that knock on the door. Throughout the day, we have many of those knocks on the door as we have people come in and we minister to them one-on-one, sometimes as couples, sometimes as parents, sometimes meeting medical needs along the way as a way to disciple and to speak into others' lives. But another way we've been involved in discipleship is through biblical counseling. Biblical counseling itself is really just another form of discipleship as we help people work through specific problems in their lives. And in partnership with First Baptist Church of Kenton, Ohio, we had teams come out twice during our first term of service to do one-week training sessions of biblical counseling, targeted at pastors, seminary students, lay leaders, anyone who was interested. And we had a wonderful reception to that program. In fact, it's one of our goals on returning to Cameroon is to start helping churches establish centers of biblical counseling from within, something that currently doesn't exist in Cameroon. And if God wills in the long run, we'd like to see a biblical counseling training program available to pastors and lay leaders within the country itself. But as I mentioned, our primary mission is church planting. And we are focused on church planting led by men with la connaissance, la compétence, et le caractère. That is to say, the knowledge, the competence, and the character necessary to lead God's church. In fact, we have a mantra that we developed while we were there. Tel que vont les leaders, ainsi va l'Église, which simply means, as go the leaders, so goes the church. Friends, rarely will a church rise above the capability and competence of its leadership. And so we have spent a lot of time heavily focused in the development and the formation of pastoral leaders, whether that is helping existing pastors to be strengthened in their capability to lead God's church, or training and equipping new pastors, potential pastors along the way. I've been involved in doing a series of seminars on biblical eldership, biblical leadership. What does it mean to be a pastor, a leader of Christ's church? I've served as an elder at large at the primary church that we serve with. We serve with 4 different churches, but as a primary church, I serve as an elder at large. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean I'm not on staff. I'm not an official member of the church. Because remember, we want these churches to remain Cameroonian in nature, to be sustainable within their own context. So we are not there to add undue influence to the churches as we go. So we serve in this mentor type of capacity. I've been involved in modular teaching at a local seminary in theology. And as we return to Cameroon, one of our goals is to begin the process of a leadership formation within the church. That is to say, pastoral development from within the church. Friends, it's not the responsibility of the seminary to train up the next generation of pastors. It's the responsibility of the local church. Only within the local church can a man develop the character and the competence necessary to lead Christ's church. The seminary can help with the knowledge, but the local church is also equipped to provide that as well too. And so as we go back, our goal is to develop a program specifically to train and equip men to lead Christ's church. And when they are trained and equipped, to come alongside them and help them to plant churches in Cameroon that are healthy, that are sustainable, and that are reproductive. Friends, I'm so sorry we couldn't be with you during this time. It had been our hope, it had been our plan to be there among you. But as we know, so often man has plans of the heart, but God directs the steps. If you'd like to do a little more, if you have more questions about our ministry, please contact us. The contact information is there on the screen. We look forward to when God will allow us to be together again. But in the meantime, we're praying for you, we're thinking of you, and we thank you for all your friendship, your fellowship, your prayers, and your support. May God bless you.